Hello, we are live. Ethan is not here because he is dealing with baby, but I have more guests, friends. I'll let my guests introduce themselves in whichever order they feel so fit.
Let's go alphabetical. I'm John from College Baseball Nation, here to talk SEC baseball.
And I'm Kyle, also from College Baseball Nation. But M is before P, so if we go by last name,
we only have our first names here in the chat.
Fair, that's fair.
J before K.
He wanted to be first for once. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Kyle's coming in a little angry. It seems like instantly throwing some shade.
I'm just I'm getting ready for college baseball season. It seems like everyone's got a chip on their shoulder in college baseball, so I'm taking that mantle.
Kyle's the underdog of this podcast, so he's got the attitude.
Did you win last year's game, or did I? I think it was you. So I am the underdog.
All right. So we start. Speaking of chips on our shoulder, who do we think has the most to prove this year in the SEC?
That's a good question. I mean, it feels like I don't want to say LSU because it's like I don't know, year 2 of a new head coach. Do you really have a lot to prove? But when you bring in the number 1 freshman class, number 1 transfer class, like consensus preseason number 1, and you lost in a regional last year, it does feel like what the minimum LSU has to make a super. I feel like the minimum, like for a successful year for LSU, really is making it to Omaha. So I think LSU has a lot to prove. But yes, Kyle and I were talking about in our podcast just a couple days ago. There's a lot of coaches on the hot seat in the SEC. So yeah. I think from a coaching perspective, I mean, maybe take a look at Alabama or South Carolina. I don't know, Kyle, don't want to steal all the answers from you.
Yeah. And I mean, and I had said Kentucky because they've been coming off. They've come off 2 back-to-back 12 and 18 SEC play seasons, and so not great. And like I don't know, it's their coach had a really good first year in 2017, and then it's kind of gone downhill since there. So maybe them. But I think Tennessee also, like, sometimes it's the team after the team that does something, and so maybe they'll do something. But they lost a lot of talent, and they're still number 2 pretty much in every poll. So I think kind of like right behind the LSU beating on that drum,
Where does LSU become number 1? Where did that come from? Wow. I had no idea that LSU was number 1 until that happened.
Yeah, I mean, they basically went out and got a few of the best pitchers in the country, a few of the best hitters in the country. So, I mean, they pulled in Paul Skeens from Air Force, two-way guy who's going to be a big part of their rotation and a big part of their lineup. I mean, Tommy Tanks from NC State's a guy who's probably going to hit 20, 25 home runs this year. Christian Little, who's had troubles at Vanderbilt, but still is a really quality arm. Thatcher Hurd, who's a first-round upside kind of guy, starting pitcher from UCLA. So, I mean, they pulled in a huge transfer class. And when you add that to I mean, LSU had some reasonable talent before bringing in a whole lot of new talent this year. You start to feel pretty good about what they've got going on in Baton Rouge.
I guess. I think I was taken aback when they didn't make Omaha, and then I was like, okay, so now you don't make Omaha last year, but you're number 1 in the nation. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that just shows you how much they brought in. Like, they brought in so much. So that'll do it.
Speaking of, we got a lot of teams ranked in the SEC. Who is overrated?
Yeah, it's always hard to tell. I mean, preseason, it's all speculation, right? I think that a team that I personally worry about a little bit is, can a team like Texas A&M handle the pressure of being sort of the team that now is expected to be a top 10 team, while last year it was totally pressure-free. So maybe I'm a little bit worried about them. I think that I personally don't see Alabama currently as a top 25 team. They have hit the top 25 in a few of the polls that have come out. honestly, I feel like Alabama has a better shot at being 7th in the SEC West than they do of being 3rd or 4th. So I don't know. I think I look to Alabama too.
And it's not the SEC. I know this is an SEC podcast, but John and I have gone back and forth on Wake Forest. I think they're a little overrated.
The only memory I have of Wake Forest was I think the regional my junior year when we beat them like 30 to something, and we were like, "Is there not a mercy rule?"
I think I was at the game. It was raining too.
Yep, that's why it was at like 2 a.m. and we had to wait.
Yep.
It was not a fun time.
Yeah.
Gotta love Aggie baseball, and we're just and then we got knocked out by TCU. I'm pretty sure. So,
as is tradition.
Tradition.
Hey,
can't steal their coach.
It's true.
Yeah. Curse is broken in Aggie land.
This is my interesting question as an Aggie. Who could match A&M football and end up unranked after starting in the high spot? And is it A&M baseball?
Possibly. A team like Oklahoma State could also. I mean, they're number 10 in D1s. I think we have them somewhere in like the 15 range. My screen is gone.
19, yeah.
19, yeah.
I think it's really hard. I mean, the difference between a middle of the pack SEC team and the bottom of the pack SEC team, there's just not a whole lot of margin for error, especially the season. I think in the SEC West, maybe SEC East is a little bit, I'm not going to say top heavy because you have Tennessee, Florida, Vanderbilt, but that's basically half the division. I don't want to say Arkansas. I don't think it's fair to say Arkansas is going to plummet off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
But I do have a little bit of question marks of do they have a guy that's kind of the same level of ace maybe as some of the other teams. I think Jackson Wiggins has 100% ace potential, but maybe hasn't put it together. I mean, you could say the same thing about A&M and Nathan Detmer. I think Detmer is a guy who has a lot of talent but hasn't always produced. So I think that where seasons start to fall apart quickly for some of these top teams is if you can't get a solid Friday night guy in the SEC, it just becomes really hard to win series when you go down 0-1 weekend after weekend.
True. I'm excited to see Detmer kind of be the guy because it was him and Micah Dallas last year, and one of them did well, we could be okay. But now it's him. He's the man.
It's him. It's a big year in terms of draft stock for him. So this is kind of put up or shut up year right now for Detmer.
Which is exciting.
I'm also excited to see Chris Cortez. Apparently he was up to upper 90s like over the summer.
Yeah, there's a chance that A&M has two guys who can touch 100 in the rotation.
That's pretty
cool.
Cool.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Let's see. Which teams have the best chance of being in the Omaha 8?
Yeah, we recently went through and picked our 8 for Omaha, and I had 4 SEC squads there. I had LSU, I think for obvious reasons. Tennessee is a team that I think is just built really well for a deep run. I mean, they have a whole pitching staff that is going to be drafted high. I like Florida a lot. I think Florida has the potential to really give Tennessee a run for its money. And so I wouldn't be surprised. I kind of expect, I think that would be a very reasonable expectation right now for Florida. I think those are, in my mind, the 3 kind of most confident SEC squads that I when I think about Omaha potential. But I also threw A&M in my group.
Oh, I love it.
And I think tier 2 for me is a team like Arkansas, who's one of the last 4 the last 4 standing last year. Return a lot from like Peyton Stovall, Brady Slavens. They got Jackson Wiggins coming back, Hagen Smith. They got a pretty solid pitching rotation. I'd like to see them keep it going. I know they lost some up the middle defense, like they have to replace some of that, but I think it'll still be good. I think it'll still be a really good team. Dave Van Horn's got them always in contention, for SEC.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned Ole Miss either, but Ole Miss obviously still is going to be in contention. We have them as a top 10 team.
Basically, the whole SEC West.
Yeah,
the SEC West.
I mean, and might as well throw Vanderbilt in this conversation as well.
Yeah.
I mean, they have one of the most dynamic players in the country, in Enrique Bradfield Jr. And maybe not quite the top tier talent has developed as we kind of come to expect from Vanderbilt, but I mean, still a lot of talent there on that team.
Could Ole Miss repeat? Do you see it happening?
Why not? But it's also really hard. I mean, I think that how often does the best team in college baseball win the College World Series? It's just so hard to win the College World Series. So if you told me that Ole Miss won the 2023 College World Series, I wouldn't be by any means shocked. But I mean, if it's Ole Miss versus the field, I'm taking the field. And it's reasonable, but not very likely in my mind.
Yeah, I think we've found that there's been back-to-back winners 2 times in the last 17 years. Oregon State in 06-07 and South Carolina 2010 and 11. So it's really hard to do, and sometimes teams don't even make the postseason the next year. See Mississippi State this year or last year. So
or Mississippi State.
You can run the gambit from repeating or not making the tournament. We'll see.
See, what are we most looking forward to for opening weekend? What matchups? What I'm assuming the college baseball showdown, but
College baseball showdown is definitely the best thing that SEC teams are a part of. We got Arkansas, Missouri, and Vanderbilt, and a couple Big 12 squads: Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas. So I think that I'm really excited about the direction college baseball is going. It feels a little bit more like we're trending in a direction where the first week or two of the season, we're getting actually some top level matchups. But really, I do think the action really does get going though in week 2.
What happens in week 2? I haven't looked at the schedule.
We have Arizona going to Mississippi State, Maryland going to Ole Miss, UCLA at Vanderbilt, Florida State. That's Big 12 ACC. But yeah, it's some good series right there.
All right. I didn't look, honestly. I looked at opening weekend and then I was like, okay, I moved on. I got other things to do today.
Yeah, that UCLA Vanderbilt.
Into the schedule, I don't have time.
I'm excited for that UCLA Vanderbilt matchup. That's like some kind of blue bloods going at it right there. That'll be fun.
Let's see, what weekend series are we most excited about and/or midweek matchups, and why is it Texas A&M? No, just kidding.
I like all of those, like in-state, non-conference, Louisville, Kentucky, Florida State, Miami, Florida, all those season-long, like home, away, neutral series. Those are the best.
I'm looking forward to A&M and Texas being an actual weekend series once they join the SEC.
2024 or 5, maybe. I don't know.
I think it's 2026.
That's the first season
for the 2025 football season.
Oh, okay.
So then 2026 baseball season.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's hard not to kind of circle the LSU Tennessee matchup that's happening the weekend of March 30th. That's 1 and 2, and happening in Alex Block Stadium, Baton Rouge. I mean, I think if LSU is even kind of close to what we think of in terms of preseason expectations, that's probably going to be the most excited Alex Block Stadium has been in a couple of years, and they get pretty rowdy there.
They do. It's true.
Yeah, and looking at LSU's schedule, they go to A&M in the first weekend SEC play, then host Arkansas, and then host Tennessee. I think that's 3 top 10 teams.
Yeah. Then A&M plays 3 top 10 teams, I think, too, with opening up.
I also want to highlight Arkansas, Tennessee, because there's some bad blood, I would say, at this point between
a little bit
DVH and Vitello, and that one this time Arkansas gets to host Tennessee. So I think Tennessee is gonna, deservedly so, perhaps get some quality heckling when they travel on the road this season.
I know our sweet friend Matthew Sparks quite loves Tennessee's head coach because he loves just the blood boiling matchups that are being created because of the way he talks and the way he deals with things. Well, I'm like, okay. He's like, I love him. Do you want to? He's like, do you want to fight with him? I'm like, no. I think I'll be okay, actually. I know they come to A&M, or do we go to Tennessee? I don't remember. I know we match up with them this year, I think. I have to look.
A&M goes to Tennessee.
Yeah, there you go.
Between hosting LSU and hosting Ole Miss.
Oh, no pressure.
Yeah.
That's 3 top 5 teams preseason right now.
That's fine.
Right ahead of you in the in the rankings.
That's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
I mean, that's perks of being in the SEC. It's at the end of the season, you know how good you are, right? You know that anything that you see in the postseason can't be tougher than what you got in that 3-weekend stretch, for instance.
Unless it's Oklahoma. Damn Oklahoma.
Yeah. Aggie killers.
It was so sad, but we got to send Texas home, and that's all that matters. That was probably the highlight of, like, my little sister who has autism came home, and I was watching the game, and she goes, "Saw him off." I said, "Almost, babe, almost. One more in, almost."
Getting there.
She got so excited. I'm like, yes, we're gonna do that, but you gotta give it a second.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that I feel like Schloss in year one defeated TCU, eliminated Texas from the College World Series, made it to the College World Series. If you were to draw up a list of things that Aggie baseball fans want in a head coach, he checked off quite a few in just year one. Pretty impressive.
I was quite excited. I wasn't sure it was going to end up like that way, because when we started, we lost to Penn. And I was like, you can't be serious. Like, did we get worse than Childress?
Don't sleep on the Ivy League. Don't sleep on the Ivy League. those nerds know how to play baseball.
Once their finals are done, they're coming for you.
It makes me think of this video. I watched all this video of, like, why is Army not the best college football team? Like, this is the literal Army. And I was like, this is fine. I don't know. Like, how do you beat, like, Hitler but then lose to Western Kentucky? I was like, oh, interesting questions. See, thoughts on the mercy rule being implemented in conference play?
I think I'm generally opposed. I mean, these kids came to play baseball, so let them play baseball. People came to watch 9-inning baseball game, so let them play 9 innings. I think this is like one of the few chances that some kids get to get some reps. I think it's an important time for coaches and for players. I mean, any rule that means less baseball. I get pace of play, I get saving guys, but, like, let's not sacrifice the game for the sake of those things.
But think of the college baseball writers, John.
The guys who want to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have to be up till 2 a.m. watching a meaningless game between freshmen who we have to learn the names of.
Like, wait, what's your name again? Hold on.
Yeah.
Who are you? Let's see.
Not a fan.
I feel like, I don't know if it should be a thing in, like, the NCAA tournament, but it's definitely not a thing that needs to be in regular season conference play, especially when you've seen teams come back from being down that much before.
Yeah, it's like let the boys play. This is why they came to play in the SEC, so they could play in SEC games, right?
But it's only SEC play, right? That's what's happening, not non-conference
play.
Okay, got it.
Which makes zero sense, but I guess.
Yeah, you're going to see more blowouts in the midweeks, but I think coaches do agree on a run rule before the game, like for some midweek games, like for travel and stuff. I think I've heard of that happening.
Yeah, one thing that's not clear to me about this new mercy rule is if it's a required mercy rule. Like, I couldn't tell if the SEC was saying you had to end the game after 7 innings, or coaches could agree to implement mercy rules for the game. So that's something that I still need clarification on. So I'm curious to see how exactly this rule gets executed.
And the question is, how often are you going to have to use it? Because these games are 9 times out of 10 pretty competitive.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like you don't see teams winning by like 15 or 10 or whatever very often.
Yeah.
Unless it's Arkansas and like the bottom of the country or the bottom of the conference. That's what I've seen, or anybody in the bottom of the conference. So the East.
Yeah, I was looking at a tweet earlier. Lee Van, our friend, a reporter for LSU, found only 2 games last year that would have fit in this. LSU was leading Alabama 12-2 after 8 innings, and then also Ole Miss was leading LSU 11-1 after 8 innings. So they both of them, I think they lost. So it wouldn't really change that much. And that's only one example, but there's probably not many times where they're that like disparate.
So maybe it's a whole bunch of much ado about nothing here. There's just not that many games where it really affects.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't actually matter. Let's see. Who are we most excited to watch, returners and newcomers?
Tennessee pitching staff. Dolander, I think this is pretty exciting. I've been like preaching the good word that is Jack Caglianone, who's a freshman who's 6'5", just an absolute like huge dude for Florida, who burned a redshirt halfway through his freshman year last year, played in 28 games and hit 7 home runs as a freshman. Like he just like basically like hit the ground running once he burned that red shirt. I have very high hopes for him. And then, I mean, if we're going to talk about guys at Florida, we got to mention Wyatt Langford, who I think is top 10 type of pick in the MLB draft. So, but I don't know. I've started finding myself jumping on the Florida train. So somebody needs to like yank me off it before I go all in on it. But I'm pretty excited to see Florida this year.
A few transfers I'm excited to see are Paul Skeens from Air Force to LSU, and then Maui Ahuna from Kansas to Tennessee. He's a really good bat that also has a lot of range as I think it's shortstop. Yeah, shortstop. And he's super fast. He's really good on the base paths. It's just exactly what Tennessee needed was another electric bat and also stud defender.
Tennessee needs good things like they need a hole in the head.
Yeah, breaking news, Tennessee's still good.
Yeah, surprise.
But are they good enough to actually get over the hump in anything?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they don't run into Notre Dame and the Sooners.
I think
the basketball team's pretty good, though, aren't they? Yeah, they're like number 2 right now. Where are they at? 3?
They were number 2, and then they lost like big to Florida.
I think they were losing a few minutes ago.
Uh-oh.
Let's check on the Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee's up 17 seconds. They got it.
Quick pivot to college basketball from this college baseball discussion.
Yeah, don't ask us these questions. We don't.
Live analysis, Tennessee's beating Vanderbilt 65-63.
Hey, you never know. Things could still change. It's 28 seconds. It's a 2-point game. You never know.
You never know.
After the A&M UNI game, I question no lead. Like no lead is safe. Nothing is safe. All right. Let's see. That's all I had. Question wise, do y'all have anything to add of anything you're excited to see or anything like that? Anything you're upset about?
I mean, I think one major storyline I'm really intrigued to see is what happens with Mississippi State. I think what happened last year, I mean, losing their ace to injury, losing some other guys to injury, I think that's a little bit of an anomaly. And I think that's the general expectation around Mississippi State is that they should be a lot better than they were last year. But if they're not, I mean, how much patience do Mississippi State fans have? How many years does a national championship earn you in terms of a grace period? I would guess a good number because it was a was a big national championship for Mississippi State. But I think Mississippi State is a really interesting storyline.
And I'm excited to see. Obviously, the trend is happening that Mississippi State won and then Ole Miss won, and so now Southern Miss is gonna win one. So you can book it, Southern Miss national championship this year.
Or Jacksonville State.
One of them.
I always mix up which one of Jacksonville State, and Jackson State is in Mississippi. I think 2 of them are in Florida.
I
There's
was
4.
2 of those are in Florida.
Yeah, one of them's in Mississippi.
Jackson State is in Mississippi because that's the capital. Jackson's the capital.
Oh,
all right.
And that's where Dion was.
All right. Well, maybe they're in the SWAC, right? Maybe we'll get a SWAC national champion.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Wouldn't that be a sight? All right.
Yeah.
That's all I've got, friends.
Thanks for having us on. It's always fun talking baseball, and it's always exciting getting this rolling, getting this back up again. T-minus a week or so until the season starts. So
it is Jack Moss days till college baseball.
Jack Moss days.
Is that 11?
Jack Moss days.
Excellent.
I love Jack Moss. He is adorable, and I enjoy him so much.
I'll agree with you on the second part.
Well, no, I enjoyed him like I enjoyed, oh my gosh, Hunter Coleman's little brother.
Ty
Coleman, who is now at Texas Tech. I enjoyed him as well. I enjoy them. I think they're fun.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Moss is bad. It's a lot of fun to watch for sure.
Oh yeah,
that's true too. All right, I'm gonna press the end button. It was nice talking to y'all.
Thanks for having us on, Shelbie.